When we talk about the great horror franchises, we usually talk about Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, but we really don't talk about the Evil Dead franchise too much. And I don't know why. The original trilogy is great, the television show was awesome, and the last movie, Evil Dead Rise, was excellent. Now, that's a lot of quality horror right there. Now, this past weekend gave us the release of the fifth movie in the Evil Dead franchise, Evil Dead Burn. So, what do we have here? Is this another great addition to this franchise? Or is this, like all the other ones I mentioned, a misstep? Because all of those other franchises have several missteps. Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the film Evil Dead Burn.
Let's talk.
So, Evil Dead Burn follows Alice, a grieving widow who travels to her late husband's isolated family home, only to discover that an ancient evil has turned a tense family gathering into an all-out Deadite massacre. What begins as an uncomfortable reunion quickly spirals into a desperate fight for survival as blood, limbs, and every ounce of sanity are gleefully ripped apart. So what works in this film? Well, if your idea of entertainment involves people being violently introduced to every sharp object within a 5-mile radius, congratulations. This movie has your name written all over it. Evil Dead Burn is an absolutely relentless barrage of horror from beginning to end. There's barely a moment to catch your breath before another deadite appears or another spectacularly gruesome kill unfolds.
That's pretty gory.
Director Sebastian Vanacek understands exactly what fans come to an Evil Dead movie for, delivering one outrageous set piece after another with complete confidence. Several of the film's horror sequences are genuinely insane, pushing the franchise's trademark blend of brutality and dark humor to new extremes. Also, the cinematography deserves a lot of credit as well. The frantic camera movements, creative lighting, and claustrophobic framing make the action feel immediate and chaotic, pulling you right into the madness instead of simply watching it from a safe distance. It's intense, stylish, and wonderfully mean-spirited in the best possible way. What doesn't work, however, is, the film's biggest weakness is that all of this excess simply won't appeal to everyone. This isn't a slow burn horror film interested in building atmosphere for an hour before something happens. It hits the gas almost immediately and never lets up, sometimes mistaking more blood for more suspense. If you're not already a fan of Evil Dead's gleeful, excessive style, this movie more likely is going to exhaust you than impress you. Also, my biggest complaint is it suffers from a lack of a truly compelling central protagonist. Alice is a perfectly fine final girl, and the performance gets the job done, but she never becomes especially memorable. She survives the chaos, but she doesn't leave the kind of lasting impression that horror fans associate with iconic franchise heroes. Especially this franchise when you had Ash. The supporting cast largely exists to become creative special effects demonstrations, which is undeniably entertaining, but it doesn't leave much emotional investment once the screaming starts. However, in the end, Evil Dead Burn is a wild, gore festival of carnage that never apologizes for what it is. It is another strong entry in the Evil Dead universe, packed with outrageously inventive kills, relentless energy, and enough fake blood to keep an entire Halloween store in business for the next decade. Just don't expect subtlety or dry cleaning bills to survive. It's yet another good movie in the Evil Dead universe. But it's definitely not going to be for everyone because it's so gloriously and unapologetically over the top. And if you stick around for the ending, the end credits, you're going to see that we're going to get more of these. There's a nice post-credit scene. Definitely check it out, especially if you were a fan of Evil Dead Rise.
That was wild.
Well, that's all I have for you this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and my feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question, share this video with friends and enemies alike, and as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.